Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to GeekVerse Podcast, Spoilers Review, Episode 2. I am one of your hosts, Taylor Field.
I'm Adam Hart Caster Dylan Ross. You didn't say the name of the thing that it is episode 2 of.
Episode 2 of Halo? Did I not say that?
You didn't say the word Halo, but we got
Oh.
we got it now. We got it
We
now.
got it now, yeah. Yeah, a couple of plugs. You can find us in the search bar with internet connection. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse on our Twitter. GeekVerse on our Facebook. You can get early ad-free exclusive episodes on our Patreon. And then, yeah, really anywhere on the web, you can just find us. There's always content popping off right now. And this is like a crammed week because we had Moon Knight that just kicked off. And then you guys are doing a Morbius review like right after we do our Halo review pretty much. So,
Yep.
yeah. Anything you want to shout out, Dylan?
Check out SideQuest this week. Was joined by Kirklin. We talked. The main review was for Kirby this week, but we talked about a lot of other news and in-game announcements. So yeah, check out SideQuest. Next week we got a ton of news with E3 and what was the other stuff? Breath of the Wild getting delayed, the PlayStation Plus. So it'll be another jam-packed episode. Yeah.
Right on, yeah. Without further ado, I mean, let's get into some non-spoilers like discussion here for episode 2 of Halo. What did you feel about this so far?
Yeah, this episode went some interesting directions. I guess I just feel like we didn't get very far from where we left off last week. Like obviously last week they're setting everything up. It's our first episode. There's a lot you're taking in, and I feel like this episode moved us forward like a foot or like maybe half a step. You know, like there just wasn't really a ton of plot that went on here. There's some setting up things in the side, but I feel like at least for the main, what is considered the main plot of this, we didn't really go that far. I still liked it. Like there's some fun locations we go to. We introduced some new characters and whatnot. I'm into that stuff, but yeah, I guess I just feel like there wasn't really a lot to dig into to bite my teeth into in this episode. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't really have anything like tremendously negative about it either. But yeah, just kind of, I guess a middling episode feels maybe like a filler one or a step to what is going to be the next big plot point or big scene, big moment, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm feeling not passionately in any direction. How about you? I'm guessing your tag on our StreamYards is the non-helmet wearing, and so I wonder if that factors into your thoughts of this episode.
It does come into play a little bit. I felt there were some things that I enjoyed because it kind of made me feel a little bit more content with episode 1 and certain things that they introduced, which is great. That's what we want. But then there's certain things that they did in this episode which I feel like should have been the introduction or the starting point in episode 1. Like just flip the episodes, so to speak. But I'm still not happy with how they're kind of handling certain things, but I see where there's certain parallels that I can get on board with, which is good. And well, I'll pinpoint some of those when we get into the spoilers aspect. But I mean, so far I'm not liking the show like any less. Like I probably would say I'm actually liking it like a smidge more than how I felt last week, but I'm still not like super ecstatic and telling everyone that they need to watch Halo or anything.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, I guess 3, 2, 1. We're going into spoilers right now. We're just gonna get into it. Is there a certain part you want to dive into with it, Dylan?
I want to hear you talk about this the helmet talk. Let's get the helmet talk out of the way. He does not wear the helmet very much at all in this. And the weird thing for me was that he just is always holding it then, And in this episode, he's also carrying a thing around a lot. So he's just like, both his hands are preoccupied. They're pretty much this whole episode. And I just feel like if you're not going to wear your helmet that much, like why don't you have like a clip or somewhere you can put it? It just is kind of awkward that he's always kind of lugging it around if he's not going to wear it.
Yes, and I'm really not a fan because it was jokes all last week. What are you gonna do, Taylor, if he never puts his helmet on? I saw like the sneak peek of him walking earlier this week of him with the helmet on, walking through the door, and you see all the other humans just standing around watching him. And I love that scene. It was an awesome sneak peek. It got me excited for the episode. And then, God, he took it off, and then most of the episode he had his bloody armor off too. He's just walking around in his skin tight spandex, and it was not suiting with me. It really wasn't. And then the moments that I got excited was when he was leaving and he put his helmet on, and thought, okay, this is good, but there's just so much going on with how he's like standing and everything. And I was watching, I I was watching the actor. I can't remember his name, Pablo or whatever it was. On like the late night show with James Corden, I think it was, and he's just talking about it. And I don't feel like there's any passion for Master Chief whatsoever from this actor. I'm really not picking it up. He's just flashes by about what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because that's actually a plot point in this show, this episode, is that they talk about this drug or whatever it is that they give the Spartans and John in this case, where it suppresses his emotions so that he just feels, as the other character Soren describes it, that he's just numb at all times. And so I thought that was interesting. It was kind of like, I was thinking, man, what's the point of him having the helmet off if he's not really going to react to anything? But then they kind of answered that within the show that there's a reason why he doesn't react to things. And then he kind of has a moment later on where he gets kind of angry and starts reacting. But I
Oh
still feel like, what's
no.
the point of? I guess I've accepted it. I get it. They're not going to rock the helmet that much, but it feels weird that they're doing it so much at this point with the helmet off when there's really nothing for him to do. And I'm guessing at some point he's going to stop taking this drug, right? And then we're going to get a more emotional Master Chief. I'm guessing that's where we're leading towards. But it's interesting to me that at this point, he's just not reacting to anything, blank stare all the time, like he's sleeping while he's standing up. And yeah, so I don't know. I guess I'm not as passionate. Like I don't need the helmet, but when he put it back on, like at the end of the episode again, I was like, oh yeah, I love that helmet. I
Oh
forgot.
yeah, it's so good. There was that sequence you mentioned where he gets kind of angry and he like grabs the guy and is like freaking out at him.
Yeah.
Oh, I hated it. That's one of the worst things I think I've ever had and seen in Halo with Master Chief. I can't believe they did that to him. In the Halo 5, like we got a smidge of that kind of aggression, but it was like they had several games leading up to this.
It was
and
earned,
so
yeah.
much story. It was earned, but like episode 1, helmets off. Episode 2, he's getting like emotionally compromised.
So what's up with that? Like why was he able to get so heated in that moment if he's kind of having these? Because I guess I first saw it as, hey, well, in like battle sequences and stuff, like he probably gets pretty fired up and maybe he gets like some adrenaline pumping, and I don't know if he gets angry, right? Because we haven't seen a fight scene with him with his helmet off.
Mm-hmm.
So is that counteract each other, or am I missing a piece there? Like why was he able to get so heated and fired up in this moment against this guy, but then otherwise he just can't feel emotions? Is they can sneak through in certain moments? I don't know what's going on there.
I'm attributing it solely to the fact that he touched the device like prior to
Sure.
that very quickly, and he just got a wave of like his
Just throws him
memories
off
that
his-
hit him.
yeah.
Yeah, it totally threw him off, which I'm really not liking, but they did it, and it is what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess we spent a lot of this episode at this new location in this. I don't think they flashed the name on screen. Is this a iconic Halo location? This asteroid colony?
I can't recall what the name was if they did flash it, but there are a few human colonies, and in the first Halo book, I think it was Fall of Reach, like John goes with other Spartans to an asteroid colony to take out some insurrectionists. And,
Okay.
So this was a very cool location indeed.
Yeah, I thought it looked really sweet. Though maybe my one critique on the way there is, does it feel now like flying through an asteroid field is just such a cliche? I feel like just reviewing all these movies the last 5 years, I just feel like I've seen that in Star Wars and I don't even know what else, but I just feel like I see it all the time and I'm bored of it. Like there's like, obviously they're not going to get hit. Obviously they're going to be fine. There's no tension. So it feels like, why are we doing this weird little rigmarole where he's deacon and dodging through these asteroids to get to this place? That felt a bit unnecessary. But then at the end of the episode, I was like, man, that was really the only action in the episode, which personally I'm okay with. I'm down with just some character stuff. But I wonder if that was why they felt the need to include something like that, or maybe they just thought it would be really cool and new. But I feel like I've seen that 100 times at this point in movies and TV shows.
You're not wrong. I wasn't like super blown away by it, but I will say it was definitely a highlight because I enjoyed whatever budget they had for CGI. Like,
yeah,
you couldn't see the budget there. It looked good, is what I mean.
It looked fine. It totally looked good. I just I guess the premise of it was
For sure.
maybe a bit uninteresting to me.
For sure. I got a kick out of how they actually traveled when he was with Soren and they went from like to his little personal asteroid. That seems like it's cool in theory, but like if you get attacked, you have no way to like you're hooped if you lose your cable, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because these people who are here are not necessarily like low lives, but I guess they're kind of people living on the fringe, and it feels like, man, that seemed like a pretty high tech scenario, but yeah, also very easily compromised. I feel
Mhm.
like they don't have the best defenses other than this asteroid field, which could very well just throw an asteroid into their little town. So I don't know.
Absolutely
It's
it
kind of
could.
risky, but a cool place nonetheless.
Mhm.
What did you
Oh,
think of like the people there? Because they had like a quick scene where he's kind of walking through, and there's people cooking up food on the side. And I kind of liked the culture element of there, but then I guess yeah, Soren is the new character we're kind of introduced to here.
yeah, it felt very like it did indeed feel like that back end of Halo where usually in the games we see the UNSC and the Covenant, and this did feel like I don't want to call them insurrectionists because they all weren't, but just the government's not here, human population,
Sure,
I guess,
sure.
portion. So it was cool to see. Yeah, frying food up in the streets, just get some churros and you're good to go. So,
Mm-hmm.
and Soren was
Yeah.
that was neat to see the backstory there again. Just the Spartan kind of going rogue and making his own path. I like that because the shit that they were subjected to was absolutely horrendous. That again,
Mm-hmm.
it could kill them. So seeing someone take life into his own hands, totally warranted, fits the story. But I don't like how they had it where John was just gonna go and initially go with him. I like how they retracted that because he, to me, it's not John. John was literally a by the book guy. So the
Sure.
retraction fit with that kind of aspect, but the whole leading up to it where he was going to go off with Soren, I don't know.
It didn't feel like. Well, I don't think he was ever going to do it. He was just going to go. I see his friend off is the vibe that I got, and Soren was convincing him, but he was standing pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess maybe he just wanted to say bye to his friend,
Well, because
or I guess he wanted
Soren,
to convince him not to do it. Right?
he wanted to
Is the
convince
reason he
him
went?
not to. Yeah, because Soren was like, "Where's your armor, John?" And John,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't, what a kerfuffle. But I mean, it's okay.
Is Soren a character from the games at all? I don't remember him
It's not a name that I recognized, but no, he's
because
definitely in
they
Halo.
never really do like flashbacks in the games of his younger life and whatnot, right?
No, they didn't. I mean, I don't remember him in the books. But yeah, no, he definitely seems to be a prominent Halo
Hmm.
character. Um,
Huh.
like
Okay.
I don't, as far as these other Spartans go, like I know I say all these this Halo lore and people can hate on me. I don't know everything, but like the main Spartans that I know is like Fred, Linda, and Kelly, and that's like Master Chief's blue team. And so now we have this other
Hmm.
team, silver team, which
You're right.
we even then we see like I'm not gonna say it's romance, and I hope they dare not go into romance with these Spartans. We don't need it. But the one lady Spartan was really kind of like very overly concerned about Chief than the other ones were.
Hmm. Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know if
That
you
I
were
thought that
picking
was
that
in.
up.
I didn't pick up on like a romance angle to it, but I definitely felt like there was kind of three levels to that where yeah, the one I don't know their names, I didn't write those down, but yeah, the one girl was like very concerned about him and what was going on. The other girl didn't give a shit at all. Like
No.
she didn't show a single shred of emotion, and then the guy was somewhere in between them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty much it. Like I feel like it was just a couple of quick scenes we got with them. We actually saw the actors
Mm-hmm.
in the first episode. They didn't take their helmets off at all, so we saw them. But yeah, I didn't pick up on like a romance angle to it. That would be interesting because I also feel like the Halsey thing has like a bit of that. Like they're on the edge of it. Like maybe there's something going on there. So I
Mm-hmm.
wonder how much romance Master Chief's gonna get on in this.
We got Kirklin in the chat. Oh, they're going there, Taylor. Helmet stays off until the sex scene happens. Shows to
The helmet stays on
answer.
during sex. Is that seems like a Master Chief kind of thing to do?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. They when you look at those Spartans, they've had more helmet time on than Chief
Hmm.
has.
Yeah. What do you think? Well, what do you think of Soren then as a character? Because we get a lot of him in this episode, and I feel like he's going to be a pretty prominent character. Like at least Chief's going to come back to this asteroid at some point to meet up with Quan again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know, maybe they take her somewhere else or whatnot. But I think we're gonna run into Soren again. So I guess what do you think of the casting of this character? Do you like this character? You wanting to see more, or do you hope they kind of find a way to not include him much more?
I'm a sucker for this kind of a character because, like, I like we have this one rogue who has gone off, has a kid, has a wife, and everything like that. That's something that you see in Star Wars with like clones. There's the odd
Mm,
clone that goes off and does that kind of
okay.
lifestyle. I love it. I think it's very down to earth, humbling, and he's a very interesting guy. That's just kind of like prodding Chief about like how what he believes in and just how he needs to change things up and just like look at all these things I have, like this food and everything. It tastes great, get
Mm-hmm.
on board with this. And I like that the dynamic of the wife's like, oh, just leave him be. And the one critique I would have is that Soren should kind of understand the amount of subjection that John has had, having
Mm,
been in the Spartan program since they both split ways, and now being an adult. I mean, it's
yeah.
hard to just change someone overnight, but I get like he's obsessed with the idea of changing people.
Yeah. It makes me wonder if they've, because I couldn't really get the vibe if they've seen each other at all since Soren left. Like back at the academy, because that was, I don't know, let's say like 15 years ago or more,
Mm-hmm.
probably more. Do Spartans have like longer life cycles too? Like, do they live like hundreds of years, or what's the deal there?
Not that I know of. No,
Because
definitely not
Soren, I
hundreds
mean,
of
kind of
years.
has rejected that stuff, so he's probably whatever a regular human lives in this
Mm-hmm.
2500 whatever year it is. Uh, but as far as the character, I feel like that actor was having a lot of fun. Like, it seemed like he was kind of chewing the scenery and just enjoying his time. So, kind of opposite to Master Chief, who's not really making too many emotions. So,
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was fun. I don't know how much they are going to dig into that character. I'm curious. Yeah, if they have encountered each other since the academy, or like how Chief knew exactly where to find him. I guess he just knew he was living here, or if like it was something where Chief was sent off to take out some insurrectionists or something, and Soren was part of that, and then he let him go, or I don't know. I feel like there might be a missing puzzle piece in there. It still worked for this episode, I guess, but I'm curious if there's anything else there. And then we kind of get this hint that the wife says that Soren, talks about you all the time. And then I like that little dig he has where he's like, not that much. So I thought that was funny, but it makes me curious because obviously he still thinks about him too, even though he plays very much that he's loving his life and he doesn't need John. He's moved on from all that stuff. But obviously,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, they go through such torment that there's no way he's completely recovered from what he was,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, brought into to at the academy there.
Absolutely. Kind of like piggybacking was on the Soren there topic. So I think it's very convenient that Soren knows a guy with Forerunner Covenant knowledge that happens to be literally
Right.
walking distance away from where he lives. It's very convenient.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that character of what was his name? Is like Ratton or
Wrath.
Wrath. Wrath. That was
Oh.
it. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that guy in terms of just the acting or what the character was doing. I think he gives some good exposition, but and then I also don't know how reliable of a narrator he is. Like anything he said could be complete bullshit. He's talking about like being a blessed one, and obviously there's some nugget of truth in there because
Mm-hmm.
obviously Chief is affected by this, but other people haven't been so far. But I don't know how off the rocker he is on that, and how close he's actually to reality, or if it's just wild conspiracy theories. Because he seems like a conspiracy theorist, and he's probably locked up for a reason. But then I also feel like Soren just opened that door. I don't feel like it was locked. Did you catch that? It
Well, he
seemed like
said he said it's not a prison; it's like a refugee area, I
sure,
guess,
okay.
if that's you want to call it, Soren.
So maybe the guy thinks he's locked up, so he stays in there or
Yeah.
something. Kind of bizarre.
To kind of fill that in a little bit, so the concept of some being blessed and being able to activate like Forerunner objects.
Mm-hmm.
So in the book Harvest, when humanity and the Covenant literally first come in contact with each other, the Covenant go to the planet Harvest because they have a whole scan of there being a slew of Forerunner artifacts. They then realize that the humans are coming up as like these artifacts, and the humans are actually related to Forerunners.
Mm.
So it creates this this dynamic where why they wage their war against humanity. It's one of the reasons, like, oh, you guys basically are blasphemous to our whole belief system, you could say. But
Interesting. Okay.
when it comes to some humans being able to activate Forerunner artifacts, there's a Forerunner called the Librarian. If my knowledge serves me correctly, she had seeded parts of like the Forerunner like DNA sequence, whatever, in humanity in some humans, and so some humans are descendants of that, where they have the ability to interact with artifacts,
Okay.
and that again is represented in the games as well, when prophets had certain humans activate certain Forerunner things. So that's why again it kind of segues into this that chick. Well, we'll get into talking about
Sure.
later with what she's capable of, because they fill in that void as well with Chief's connection too. So
Right. So she would be one of these blessed ones as well. Yeah.
yeah, which makes sense now, and I can feel a little bit more relieved after my rant last week about why they have such an interest in her and why they keep her around.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, she's kind of gearing up to go on a mission of her own. I guess we could dive into that because there was not much there, but that's pretty much it. Like they're gonna. I mean, they didn't want her to go on this mission, but she wanted to go on this mission, which is what, to track Chief down, get this artifact, or was it? I guess they want the artifact because they're calling it like the key or the ring or whatever it is, right? And that they just want to go get it.
Yeah, so another thing from the books too, another human planet, I don't know what the name of it was, but they had there's the story goes they had like a gem or an artifact there, and they attributed it to some other, possibly like an alien race, whatever, but they had it displaying in a human museum. The Covenant landed, attacked this museum, and they couldn't figure out why they went there. Chief, I believe, was the one who retrieved this artifact, and they left. And then after the fall of Reach, Cortana looked at this artifact, saw these numbers and coordinates on it, and randomly input it into the Pillar of Autumn. And then boom, Pillar of Autumn jumps to the first Halo ring, and that's the first Halo game, Combat Evolved.
Whoa. Okay.
So this is interesting because we're kind of getting that parallel here where they're displaying, okay, this artifact will take people to the Halo ring. That's why the Covenant wants it so bad. How the fuck Wrath knows about all this shit is very interesting.
Do you feel like we're gonna get that? To me, it seemed like a very much a one-off character where that was his one scene. But it seems like, yeah, he maybe has more backstory or stories to tell. That's weird. Well, I guess he was, because he was like captured by the Covenant, right?
He was, and it's
So
just
I guess
weird.
that's a fine enough explanation. Like we just can live with that and not need to know more about it, I guess.
That's all we need to know. I hope they don't bring him back, and I just still find it baffling. Like, they brought him in and they found out, okay, he doesn't activate any of these Halo artifacts or Forerunner artifacts, but yet we're going to tell him that we're looking for the Halo ring, and the Halo ring is a weapon.
Right.
That's a lot of personal information.
Well, especially because it's not like the Covenant are just speaking English. They're not speaking American English here. Like they're never. So I don't. So I don't know, man. That seems like that we're missing some details there of how he figured all this shit out.
Yeah, he's a very capable person.
But then, like I said, like a lot of it could be conspiracy theory. But then a lot of the conspiracies seem to be kind of correct so far based on what we got here. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's convoluted. But the girl, I mean, yeah, they added a little bit of backstory. So Prophet of Mercy took her in, and obviously for his own means saw, okay, you are capable of activating these artifacts, and it seems kind of like Prophet of Mercy is kind of the head honcho, whereas in the games it was the Prophet of Truth that was more or less kind of like the main prophet. But we got to see the others, the whole like hierarchs, all three of them here, which is pretty cool. And they were talking and stuff too. But it seems like, and now it kind of makes sense, her apparel, even why she's so like hidden and you only see her face. It almost seems like the Covenant is they don't want her to show that she is a human. Like, she should be like embarrassed of how she looks.
Interesting. Okay.
Because when she was taking off like her clothes, and it got a little spicy there, she was just like really kind of like looking at her body like she hasn't looked at it enough or very often. And then she had like that wound on her shoulder.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that wound, but I also that's something we all talked about in the first episode. We were maybe a bit surprised by how brutal it was and how M-rated this show feels. And I guess I maybe then wasn't surprised, but yeah, there's like some full-on nudity in this. So I wonder how much more of that we'll get. You're talking about those sexy scenes with Chief and his helmet on. So maybe we'll see some of that in the future. I'm sure Taylor would love that. But yeah, what's up with the scars that she had on her back? Because it was very much centralized in the like top corner, it looked like, rather than what like a Spartan's incision would be, on their back. So what do you
Hmm.
think is going on there?
I imagine it must be just kind of the post damage of a plasma weapon. Maybe the
Okay.
Covenant. My kind of narrative I've spun here is the Covenant has come in. They've attacked a human village. They shot at her, and maybe like before she died, she touched one artifact this Covenant
Mm,
village or this human village had, or something like that. And then they saw what happened, and they just took her in and gave her to the Prophet.
yeah. That seems like a logical. That makes sense. Or they branded her, possibly something like that. But that's
That's
probably
true.
what happened. Yeah, that's probably how she got aboard. And then why she would join them and want to be their best friends. That's I'm sure we'll get some of that.
Well,
Maybe.
they brainwashed her like they did
Oh, okay.
with the Covenant, is how I took it, because she started talking like this is the all for the great journey and everything, which is like their
Right. I did. I
sacred.
wrote that down. What's up with the Great Journey, or is that something that? Well, I'm curious what it is.
So in the games, the great journey is like the whole foundation of the Covenant. Basically, the great journey is them activating the Halo rings and transcending. What in reality it is, you activate the Halo rings, it basically annihilates everything with like every piece of intelligent life out there is eliminated, because that's what the flood latches onto, and
Mm,
the Halo rings are a weapon to basically take restrict the flood from spreading and containing it. So
crazy.
they all believe that the Great Journey is some magical ascendance, transcendence,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. And so she is full on indoctrinated into the belief
Yeah.
system of the Covenant.
Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, I mentioned in the last episode, I'm really curious where her storyline goes. And once again, that was one of the things that I feel like, yeah, they really just barely pushed that storyline along. But they did set up what she's going to be doing next. So I'm sure we'll see more of her in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that they put in here, obviously for a reason, but I didn't feel like it led to anything, is the young scientist girl who is, yeah, the daughter of that
Miranda
captain dude.
Keys. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she's talking about how she really wants to get access to the artifact when and if they get it. And the other lady that I'm sorry, I forget all these names now, but she kind of brushes her off and whatnot. And that's all we get from her in this episode. And it yeah, it doesn't really lead to much, but obviously they're kind of so once again slowly pushing that storyline along. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have too much to dig into on that scene, but I thought it was interesting that they included it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I think it kind of just adds more to Halsey's character, really, just how she's just dominant and just getting the funding for everything,
Hmm.
and so she's capable of.
What else? I guess one thing that I thought was kind of goofy and very video gamey was on that asteroid planet or asteroid colony. I guess asteroid planet doesn't make sense. Asteroid colony is at one point they like bring out a forklift to like
Oh
stop Chief
my
from going ahead,
god.
and I was like, is this supposed to be a joke at like an invisible wall? Like this feels very video gamey that there's a good meter and a half, 2 meters like on the left side of this forklift that they could very easily walk around, but instead Chief has to grab it and like thrash it aside, and then Soren pops up and we get into all that. So I don't know if that was intentionally a video game thing. Obviously, if these directors and writers didn't play the games at all and don't care about that stuff, I don't know how much they would be interested in bringing an invisible wall into a TV show. But I don't think I've ever seen that kind of thing translate from a game to a show. So that was interesting.
And I've never even seen that kind of component in the Halo game, period, where you hit a button and like move something. Like, oh, it's just so weird. Like the guys are in behind the forklift laughing with their guns. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what did you accomplish? What did you honestly accomplish with this? You did nothing.
It was very very weird. Uh, Here's a random thought I had. I felt like this episode didn't really feel super Halo-y, which I know is a weird thing to say, but I just feel like the sound effects weren't there. We didn't have like these action things, and this maybe just felt like less of a Halo show to me and more of just a space space exploration fantasy show. Did you get that vibe? I just didn't really get many Halo vibes from this particular episode, I guess.
I felt more versed in the Halo like aesthetic here with the lack of sound effects, to be honest. Like, it just
Sure.
felt like it was more, I was more
Yeah, we did
enveloped
feel
into
opposite
it.
on that last episode.
Yeah. Um, but the thing that it's not like a full on immersion into Halo. The thing that subtracts it again is just the suit being off and the helmet being off. So there were certain things that pulled me out of it, but no, like it still felt more like Halo universe because we were talking about the ring and Great Journey and
Sure.
just the dialogue was really pulling me in. So
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess the Great Journey, Blessed Ones, all these things don't really have much meaning for me as a kind of casual enjoyer of this story. So that's fair. Uh, another just nice CGI thing. We got like a nice panning shot of Planet Reach just before we get a conversation with Halsey and some other commander dude. And I just thought that was a beautiful shot. They did a good job with that, and I'd love to go explore that. That seems like a lot of fun. So that was
that's
cool.
something I forgot to mention after last week's episode. Yeah, there's just all the introduction of Reach in live action is just awesome. It's fantastic, and it gets me excited seeing it intact because the fall of Reach is just one of the most greatest things of all
Mm,
time in the Halo timeline, and I can't wait, and I hope we see it. Like it happens in the timeline. It happens before they discover the Halo ring, so it's either going to happen at the end of this season as a big cliffhanger. The Covenant comes, it's all out war. Yeah, it'll be good.
or happens midway through the season, do you think? Or do you think that
I'll
maybe not even
take it.
touch it?
Like
Yeah.
let's do it. I mean, if they don't even touch it and they go right to finding the Halo ring, I'll be so crushed because you
Mm,
literally have Halo Reach, one of the best Halo games of all time, focused on the destruction of the planet Reach.
yeah.
And I mean, they got to do it.
That seems like well, sorry, yeah, where's Reach in relation to 1, 2, and 3? So is that like a prequel then?
Yeah,
Story
Reach
wise?
is like
Oh,
right
okay.
before Halo One story
Right. I
wise.
forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. What else is there? I guess we do get a brief scene on Madrigal again, which I thought was just super dark
Oh,
and
it's
brutal,
very
man.
dark.
They set up this like kind of executioner governor guy who I guess is teaming up with the UNSC and probably I don't know. I guess he was against the insurrectionists. Like he's in an opposing party, but still on the same planet. And yeah, man, he's just executing people and having some very evil speech. Uh, he was like it like made me sick to my stomach almost. It was a very disturbing scene.
It was very disturbing. Yeah, he's just popping them, and then when he lifts, like I'm just blown away. They're doing this. He lifts the sack over the woman's face, like
Yeah.
like shrugs, and then just pops her. It's like Jesus, this is seriously dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know kids enjoy playing the games, but kids shouldn't watch this show.
No, it's pretty intense. Definitely not kid friendly. Yeah.
I'm glad that though that we kind of got a little bit more insight into that character because I didn't fully understand his role in that first episode. He was on the TV and I wasn't sure
Right. I kind of
where his
forgot about him.
position
I
was.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've kind of filled in the void here a little bit more with what he's doing. And yeah, he's on the payroll of the UNSC, I guess. So
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to see how that character goes on. And I imagine we're going to get a lot of story progression with Quan and him since there's that they set up.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Like, where do you think her character goes from here? Because she and Chief are split off now. Chief's probably gonna be on pretty high alert for the next while. They're probably gonna keep a close eye on him. So I don't know how much he's gonna be going off visiting her every couple weeks. So what is her story then? Like, are her and Soren off on this other side journey that's kind of going on, or does she go off on her own? Do you think? Because it seems like she's a character that's going to stick around. Like it really feels like they're setting her up as like a big important character, and I don't know why they can't get the damn blood cleaned off her face. Like just give her a rag. Like let her clean up a little bit, please.
Yeah. I was totally happy with them leaving her behind, the chief going on to continue the story. And I don't need to see any real story progression with just her and Soren outside of maybe one more episode because I don't want Chief to be like going back and paying visits to them because now Chief is
Yeah.
he's in hot water and it would
Hmm.
just be totally blasphemous for him to break the rules
Yeah.
again just to go find her.
But they can't just do nothing with like that.
It's
They've set
true.
her up so much and given her so much emotional just I guess emotional break like moments with her family and friends all dying. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't know where they're gonna go with her on her own because it's not like she has a spaceship that she can cruise around in and go do stuff.
That's true. So it'll probably be in passing. Chief will come in contact with someone associated with Soren or with Quan, and then she'll like appear.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could also just like I don't know if I fully trust Soren based on what we get here. Like obviously he seems like he's good happy to see John enough, but he could very easily just turn on him. So I could see something where they take that bounty and sell her. But I don't know if they would. I guess they said it was like dead. Like they don't need to keep her alive for that to get
Mm-hmm.
that bounty. So, but I
Mm-hmm.
guess they could just keep her alive and get the bounty and sell them back to the get her back to the UNSC, and maybe that's how she could, I don't know, find her way back into the main story. I'm not sure.
I feel like Soren is genuine because it's a double-edged sword. If he chooses to betray Chief, Chief could just rat him out and be like, "Hey, Soren is alive on the asteroid with a
Right,
son, which is UNSC property. Like, go at him."
right,
And
right.
so he'll play it carefully, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if Chief would do that. I guess he's kind of a, at the times, very by the book kind of guy here, but
He's
he's
going
got a
into
heart, so.
uncharted waters now. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about him.
Yeah. And I guess just some ending episode things. We kind of get a scene with Halsey and Chief again when he arrives back, which is funny to me because I feel like sometimes the travel sequences, like we talked about in the first episode, feels like half the episode, like Chief's just on his way to this one place, and then he ends up here. He ends up back at the UNS, or I guess Reach again, in just like a moment's notice, just like
Mm-hmm.
one fade to black, and he's there. So anyway, we get a scene with them talking, and it's interesting because at first Halsey really shuts him down when he's talking about his emotions, but then he keeps talking about it, and she starts inquiring. She starts asking more questions about it and bringing more of these emotions out and trying to get more information. So once again, to me, she's a very interesting character because she's definitely playing multiple sides, not just her own, and she's obviously a fan of Chief or John as a person, but then she's also working with some other parties. So I thought once again we didn't see much of them together, but one scene I thought was pretty decent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just goes to show the motherly kind of vibe she has over all of them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess they set up that Cortana. It's probably gonna happen in the next episode. They set up the initiative for that, so that's gonna happen. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's kind of a
Um,
cliffhangery end of episode thing. So I don't know if there's too much to dig in on that.
well, it's I liked how they were talking about how like, oh, this the cloning stuff, this is all very illegal, like, do you have a way around this? And her way around it, how I'm kind of putting it together so far, I think, is okay. She cloned herself, which makes sense because Cortana was built using some of her brain tissue to make her a very advanced AI.
Mm.
So looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, so she cloned herself, and she's probably going to cut this clone open and use that to create Cortana, I'm assuming. Or she's just trying to make a clone version of herself into a Spartan, which is really, really off the charts of
Hmm.
Halo. But okay, I'm just excited to see Cortana come into play
Yeah,
here. I think that'll help balance things out.
for sure. Yeah, I don't think I have any predictions or anything, but I'm curious to see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was everything I had in my notes. Is there anything we missed out on here?
I think we hit everything. I think we checked off every box. I'm I'm very intrigued now, more so than I was last week, to see where
Nice.
we're
That's
gonna
good.
go with this story. So that is a good thing. It's doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel, I guess, like I had mentioned in the first episode, I liked it enough and I felt like there was enough things that were kind of hooking me in. I was curious to see transpire, and this episode just kind of very slightly move those things along, but there's
Mm-hmm.
still kind of open questions with a little bit more context and flavor in there. So yeah, I'm down. I'm definitely gonna keep watching. I'm still in it. It's not perfect, but it's fine. It's fun. I'm liking
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. That's episode 2. Sound off. Poof. Done. I guess we'll be back next week. I don't know
Mhm.
who, if I mean, obviously Morbius was a factor in tonight for the
Yeah.
other two fellas, but we'll see if maybe they're interested in joining next week.
Yeah, I'm curious. I wonder if they'll be jumping. I feel like Kirkland was kind of in. He was in to at least keep going. Travis seemed very much on 50-50 factor if he was going to keep going, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you have it. We'll be back next week. Yeah, keep checking out all our other shows, episodes, and yeah.
See you next time.